All right, so this video is going to be multiplying rational expressions. I'm going to go pretty quick through the factoring because we already did that in class, and we did, I did it in depth on the simplifying, and there's a factor video all by itself. Okay, so now we're going to have two fractions. We're going to have them multiply together. So what does that mean? We need to factor everything still. Okay, so the 2x minus 3 on the top is going to stay because it doesn't have a common factor, and it doesn't have a squared. The x minus 4, same thing. The top of the second one we can factor. So I'm just going to rewrite my first fraction first. Okay, the second one, we're looking for factors of 16 that add to negative 8, so we'd get negative 4, negative 4. So again, I'm going to do it pretty quick. A is 1, so I know that nothing fishy is going to happen. And then remember, you could rewrite that as x minus 4 all squared, but since we're going to be maybe crossing one out, I'm going to keep it separate. Hardest part about this problem is looking at the bottom and seeing that it's very similar to the top. Okay, so if we look, we have a positive 2x up here, we have a negative 2x down here. We have a negative 3 and a positive 3, so how do we get them to switch signs? We factor out a negative 1. So that's only when the numbers match, but their signs are different on both that you can do that. So we'd have negative 2x divided by negative 1 is 2x, 3 divided by negative 1 is negative 3. Okay, and then we're ready to cross out. So what's on the top and the bottom? Exactly the same. The x minus 4s are exactly the same. The 2x minus 3s are exactly the same. And I think that is it. So what are we left with on the top? We're left with x minus 4. What are we left with on the bottom? A negative 1. Do we ever leave our problems like that? Absolutely not. So we're actually just going to divide both of them by negative 1. So x divided by negative 1 is negative x. Negative 4 divided by negative 1 is positive 4. Then we have to do our excluded values. So we're going to take our denominators. So we have x minus 4 equals 0. So x can't equal 4. Add our 4 over. 2x minus 3 equals 0. We would add our 3. Have 2x equals 3. Divide by 2 to get x cannot equal 3 halves. Okay, now you could take the originals. Usually that's just going to give you a little bit more work because you're going to have to factor like we did. So just to show you that the 3 minus 2x before we factored out a negative would give you the same thing. We would add over our 2x to get 3 equals 2x. Divide by 2 and we still get our 3 halves. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you take the one that we factored out or the one up top, it would give you the same answer. So this is our answer. I'm going to separate it by a comma just so I can tell. And you're done. All right, so that's example 4. Example 5 was a little bit more factoring. So we have this problem. We have 8x and negative 20. They share a 4, so I'm going to factor out a 4. I'm left with 2x minus 5. On the bottom, I'm looking for factors of negative 35 that add to 2. So I know that that's 7 and negative 5. If the a value wasn't 1, I would have to do a little bit more on the side. Factors of 10 that add to negative 7, negative 2, and negative 5. And then this one, we would factor out a 4 first. We'd be left with x squared minus 4. Factors of negative 4 that add to 0 would be 2 and negative 2. Again, I can do it pretty quick since a is 1. Right? And then this has a really long denominator, so if you wanted to, you could always do that. Just set everything equal to 0 first so that you don't lose anything, or so you don't have to go back and try to read through your writing. The only one we don't have to set equal to 0 is the 4 because it doesn't have an x. Okay, and then we would cross out. So what do we have on top that we have on the bottom? We have an x minus 5, we have an x minus 2, and we have the 4s. I think that's it. Okay, so then our final answer, what's left on the top? 2x minus 5. What's left on the bottom? X plus 7, x plus 2. And then x cannot equal, this is going to give us x can't equal negative 7, x cannot equal 5, x cannot equal 2, and x cannot equal negative 2. So x can equal negative 7, 5, plus minus 2 is our final answer. You do not have to FOIL the bottom out. You can just leave it multiplied. All right, that was multiplying rational expressions.